Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think Josh was ready to come on, so he can come on and be the guest.
I'll go set the screen's YouTube clip and you guys can shoot for a couple of minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, Josh.
Hey, you on the line, Josh?
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
I'm on the line, so let me mute stuff and do stuff. And
all
get
right,
stuff
so we need
going here.
to we need to get things going now. It's getting into the evening here. It's 9 p.m. I'm getting tired. We've shared a few viewers as we've gone into the afternoon. We need everyone in the chat to get everyone pumped up for the return of the proper presentations that were originally billed after some unfortunate gaps. We had a couple of people drop out. Yeah, get a tweet out. Let everyone know Josh is about to talk. Do you want to hit them up with your Twitter handle in the chat or something?
Sure. Let me tweet this out to my own followers here. Starting now. And so you wanted to talk about some of the SEO experiments I've been doing?
Yeah, sounds cool. I think people will enjoy that.
All right. Okay. I can try doing that stuff. And this is my Twitter in the chat here. You're sure to bring people in here who love me.
Yeah, so let's
general SEO community does.
Let's get a big tweet out for Josh. Let everyone know he's going to be talking about some super interesting SEO experiments. And let's have a really good discussion about them all. Let's get the number up back over 100. Let any of the groups the show's back up to full speed. We've got a guest on. It's rock and roll.
Before I get started here, I just want to mention that I do have my own show as well. It's called White Hat versus Black Hat.
Excellent.
SEO show. It's usually Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. It's at youtube.com/jbachins. I'll just put the /JBACHYNS in the chat on YouTube. And yeah, undead dinosaurs. That's right. These are the bones of Matt Cutts and John Mueller. John Mueller's still alive, but Matt Cutts and Pierre Farr. How about that? Or pick or Miley O. You pick your Google employee. Doesn't work there anymore. So yeah, in a couple minutes I'll be going through some of the experiments that I've done, and if there's any questions in the chat, by all means put them there. I just want to doff my hat to you guys. You're doing this 24-hour charity-a-thon. It's a really cool thing you're doing. You have more guts than I do, sir. I don't know if I could do a whole 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm starting to worry about it now, but once you've started, you just kind of have to finish, right?
Right. Yeah, you just got to power through.
Yeah, it's too late now to change our mind, but you guys been really motivating. Just keep those small donations coming. Just every couple of dollars helps. Every mug purchase cheers us up a little bit as we brace ourselves for the next 3 quarters of this thing. I feel like it's almost finished, and there's another 3 quarters to go.
You've got 3 quarters to go. How much have you raised so far for charity?
We've raised at least 3,400, but there's over $200 on Teespring, and it won't update for the next day starts till tomorrow. So I'm hoping a lot more. So.
That's good. That's great. I mean, I clap my hands. I doff my cap to you, sir, for that. That's fantastic. That's a really good thing. I was recently on an internet one of the White Hat groups, and I challenging people to do SEO stuff for charity, and you actually did it. Not in response to me. You guys already had this going on, but you're like, hey, Josh, you want to do something for charity? So here we go. So
excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming on.
It's my pleasure. I will share with you folks my SEO experiments that have been going on. So as we were talking about earlier, about an hour and a half before, lately in the SEO industry, and it's just an example of all the kind of stuff that happens in the SEO industry, is that there's the eternal debate of what a ranking factor is, and if this is a ranking factor or if this is a ranking factor. And the problem with these debates is that even when Google gets involved, is that no one's speaking from a place of knowledge, and the only way you can get knowledge out of these kind of areas is by doing scientific testing, or as scientific as possible, as scientific as you can get in the SEO industry. And as I was explaining an hour and a half ago when we were just filling some time, all of my experiments I do are on a single variable controlled environment. So what I mean by that, and I'm not the only guy doing this. I belong to a group called the SIA group that does this as well. Maybe later on, if we have some time, I can share some of their tests as well that they do, because they've done hundreds of tests. But what we do is we make a garbage, lots of other SEOs do this too. We make a garbage keyword like 2489 FG 567, whatever it is, something that doesn't rank in Google at all. Google has never heard this keyword before. And then we make 5 pages about it on a single server, or we make 5 different websites about it on a single server. So we control everything about this environment, right? We control the traffic. There's no traffic. There's no social. There's no links. There's no text changes. There's no content changes. There's no searches, right? We control everything about this search result environment, if you will. And so that's what I mean by single variable controlled environment. Now, it's not perfect. We see fluctuations in the pages on a regular basis across the servers, actually. It's very interesting. Every few weeks, we'll see a fluctuation across all the pages on all the servers. And we scratch our head. We're like, what is Google doing there? Are they just tweaking LSI? Or did they just recache everything and reprocess all? Because all these pages are spun garbage. And some pages they throw out. And so they just replace them with something that Google will finally accept that passes their spinning filters, right? So if I could share the screen, I'd like to show you some of the tests I've been doing. And I think the results, for those of you who've never watched me before, I think the results will be fairly surprising. You mind if I share the screen and share some of this stuff?
Yeah, go ahead. I think you'll have to do the screen share approach because you haven't got slides. So yeah, just take over the screen and rock and roll.
Okay, so here we go. So you should be seeing my big white screen right now with a bunch of blue stuff in the middle. Is this what we're seeing here? Take a couple seconds to load. Oh, I think you're muted there.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying it. Just once it updates, I'll let you know. They're a few seconds behind. Yes, you're up. You're full screen. Okay,
fantastic. So here's my example. Here's a test server, and as you can see, it's just a garbage keyword that no one's ever seen before. Now, I'm going to have to ask, you guys can search these out yourself if you like, incognito. Please don't click the results, because some of the results are traffic tests, and I would prefer if these tests don't get ruined. So it's kind of a dangerous thing to be showing live, but
yeah.
Okay, so here's some interesting ones here. What about negative SEO? What do you guys think? Do you think negative SEO from links is possible? Go ahead, say in the chat if you think it's possible. I did this with my my co-host Clint on the show on White Hat versus Black Hat. And what we did here's the keyword, and you see it's ranking #1 in Google right now. And we fired 150,000 Viagra and penis pill and porn links at this out of GSA on this one poor page. And you could probably imagine what happened to it. Let me just show you what happened to this page here. I'll go back in time, apply, update, because we wanted to see if negative SEO from links is possible. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong page. Oh, this is the wrong test. Sorry. I'm building it all up, and I'm in the wrong test. Here, let me get the right test. Here's the test, negative SEO. Here we go. Okay. So as I said, we pointed all these bad links at this page, and I'll give you a spoiler alert right away. It did nothing. Link-based negative SEO did absolutely nothing. All Clint did from pointing the 150,000 crap links at it was peg it at #1 in Google and Bing for months on end. Is all he did. So again, here's the page here. It's on this server. You can check it out. That's the page. Please, if you want to go there, go ahead, because I'm not doing any testing to this one anymore. So if you want to check it out, you can go ahead. But it was ranking #3 for months ahead of this time. He pointed the links to it about May 26th. He pegged it at #1. After a week, it started fluctuating in ranking for about a week. And I think that's interesting. And I had a private conversation with Matt Cutts a few years ago when he still worked at Google. And he told me that they're thinking of writing algorithms. And he didn't just tell me, a lot of people in the industry were talking about this. about them writing algorithms just to mess with SEOs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do an obvious SEO move, they might make your pages fluctuate for a few days. And that's what seemed to happen. And then this is what happened. For the rest of the time, it ranked number 1 with no problems. And so you might ask, I heard you guys talking about the disavow file before I came on. So what about the disavow file? Would the disavow file help or hurt with that? Because this had 150,000 really, really terrible links pointing at it. Like, think of the dirtiest possible links, like herpes and any possible medical, your money or your life links. Like he took GSA, he took the worst parts of GSA and he hurled it at this page. And so I disavowed all the links. I disavowed 8,000. Most of them got parsed from Google. Google auto-filtered about 132,000 of those links, and they disappeared out of Search Console. The remaining 8,000 domains I put in a disavow file. I used every tool I had. I used Ahrefs, and I used Search Console, and I got all the links I could find, and I made a domain colon for all the entries, and I put it in a disavow file. What do you think happened August 21st?
Tanked.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Interesting.
Nothing happened August 21st. The only thing that happened is that, and on October 25th, I even used Link Research Tools, their link detox tool. I even used that tool on October 25th, and I used that tool as well. And as you can see, the disavow did absolutely nothing for those links. The only thing that happened, you'll notice there's a little, I'll move my mouse. So you notice there's a little blip here and there's a couple blips. Every now and then after the disavow, see there's no blips from here to here, it's a solid line. After the disavow, around this date here, August the 21st, after I spidered those links, this page started to A/B test. It started to pop in and out of the SERPs. Most days it would be there, but for 2 days, 3 days at a time, it would disappear entirely.
Nico.
I think your dog likes my test. He's like, this is the most awesome SEO test ever. Oh, no problem at all, Matt. You got the kid, you got the dog, you got everything going on there.
He hasn't even reacted to any of the other speakers. This is the first time he's got excited. You've got things going with these tests.
He knows me. He's like, not this jerk. I hate this guy. But look what happened here. It started A/B testing. So you see it was on solid there from this date to this date was solid, never dropped. But then from this date, after I did the disavow, it started A/B testing. So if anything, the disavow hurt the rankings of this page. It started A/B testing this page with other pages. The other thing I'll mention is that, if you might conclude from that negative SEO doesn't work, that's not entirely true. Before the results before we did this test, these sister pages, page 2, 3, 4, and 5, were also ranking on page 1. And when we pointed the 140,000 links at this page, these sister pages dropped off the SERP entirely. So negative SEO kind of worked because this website technically had 5 pages ranking previously. And after pegging this one at number 1, the other 4 sub-pages, the sister pages, dropped off the SERP entirely. So it's kind of 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other if link-based negative SEO in this test worked, quote unquote. It didn't work against the target page. It ranked it consistently and conclusively. But the sister pages disappeared until I did this disavow. Until I did the disavow that I showed you previously, August 21st, and then the sister pages started popping up occasionally in the rankings again. So I found that to be very interesting. So does link-based negative SEO work? Yeah, you can hurt a website. Apparently, according to this test, you can hurt a website by making Google really select one page and deselect other ones. Whether that would actually end up being less traffic or more in the long run, it depends entirely on the stats, right? But do you understand what I mean? Some pages disappeared and some pages stayed there. If all the other pages, and they're all dedicated to the same keyword as well. So this could just be Google selecting, okay, well, this is the only page that has links. So these are the pages dedicated to the same 2Z, JF, H, Z, whatever. I'm just going to pull that off the SERP. And as you saw there, this has been running for months. I've been running this for half a year, and there's been no variation, no changes.
It's really interesting.
Here's some other tests here. So that disavow test didn't show any positive things. In fact, it showed negative things. Let me show you some more tests that we've been doing here. What about JavaScript links? Do you think JavaScript links work? A JavaScript link is just a link that is not a normal href. It'll load a JavaScript file, and JavaScript will change the window location to equal something new or something along those lines. And so what we did is on the Tumblr blog, we made a JavaScript link on September 20th. And when we spot checked it, it was gone. So let me show you here. This is one of these tests that maybe it doesn't make knowledge, it just makes more questions. A lot of scientific testing doesn't give you an answer, it gives you 5 more questions to answer.
Especially if JavaScript's involved.
Indeed. So here you see this page was ranking on spot 3 for the most part, except for these little blips which are happening across the entire server. So then September 25th, it started to disappear from the rankings here. So around this time, it started to disappear from the rankings, started to fluctuate in and out. And then when it came back, it seemed to go up and then it seemed to fluctuate a whole lot. So then I told people about it and they started clicking on it, and then it starts to be ranking up on number 1 and fluctuating around. So does this mean the JavaScript link gave it any juice, or was it just the traffic I sent to it? It's really, really hard to say, but this did not happen to any of the other pages on the SERP, and it was ranking number 3 for a long time. So this would make me want to do some more tests on traffic and on JavaScript links. So I did. So we did another JavaScript test here. This one here.
Hey Josh, Andy Halliday has a quick question for you. How often does Google crawl these test sites, and does that affect anything?
That's a very good question. It does. Google will crawl these every few weeks. They'll come back, sometimes months. So they are definitely garbage pages. I mean, they're not important pages. They have no links. They have no traffic. They're nothing Google should be paying attention to. And it does change things. I see random fluctuations. Let me show you just this page here. This server here is I say it's stable, but it's really not. Like if I show you here, which is in spot number 3, this page here, this is no testing is going on this page. No testing whatsoever. Let me just show you what it looks like when there's no testing going on and the random kind of fluctuations that Google will do. So this is a page I don't use for testing because Google's never liked it. They've always moved it up and down all over the place. And then it'll hit a spot that it seems to like, and maybe it's evened out now at spot number 3. I could maybe start using this page for testing. But when I set up the server, they move it all over the place. It's like they're testing it. It's like no one's clicking on this page. I don't know where I should rank it, and they keep ranking it all over the place. Of course, no one's clicking on it because there's no traffic on this SERP. Right? That's a hypothesis of mine. Or they're just fluctuating, just randomly jostling what pages they like on this keyword here that doesn't exist. But it starts to, after a while, it starts to even out, and after it evens out and it's stable for a few months at a certain spot, then I start using the page for testing. So this page I could start using for testing pretty soon. But this all depends on like Google might visit it here and then reprocess it, might visit it here, reprocess it. And it seems like Google these are all spun pages. It seems like Google will rerun their spinning software and their LSA software on every time they spider the page, which I found very interesting. So let me tell you. So the second Tumblr test we did here, we actually indexed. We didn't index the backlink page in your regular indexer. We didn't do an RSS feed. We actually clicked on it in Gmail, and Google picked it up from Gmail. So that was very interesting, first off, by the way, that Google can pick up links in Gmail. If you click on it, it gets submitted to Google first, by the way, and watch the status bar. It's google.com/q equals and the domain name. So it's almost like they're checking Gmail for new URLs. They're so hungry for URLs, they're checking every source they have for new URLs. So we never indexed this, and it just started working. And July 26th, the JS link seemed to work. And let me show you here. for yourself. You can see for yourself. Don't have to read my notes. Let me just take it back here in time so you can get a sense. So around July 26th here, this has been ranking number 3 for a long time. July 26th, the Tumblr link seemed to work, and it was up here for a while. Then it had a fluctuation across the entire server, and it popped back up to number 1. So I was quite surprised at the time that it seemed to do some good. Then the page seems to be fluctuating, and it's back at number 1 here. So I think with this test and the last test, I'm starting to lean in the direction that JS links, the way Tumblr is doing it, and Tumblr is doing it a specific way. If for those people who know JavaScript, it works like this. There's an anchor tag, the href equals quotation. It loads a JavaScript program, a server-side JavaScript program on the Tumblr server, and then when you download that separately and read it, then it's doing a bunch of checking and it does a window location. But it's server-side JavaScript, not client-side JavaScript. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I'm just being precise and telling you exactly what we tested.
Sure.
So these Tumblr links seem to give some kind of a boost. But again, it's not conclusive by any stretch of the imagination yet. So I thought, what will happen if I disavowed this link? It's not really a link. It's a JS link. So what would happen if I disavowed it? So I disavowed it on August 10th, and lo and behold, this happened. It dropped to number 4 after I disavowed it. I had it re-spidered August 14th, and it crashed. August 17th. August 14th. I had it indexed, and yeah, it was gone August 17th. So this is the effect of the disavow file. Again, anytime I file a disavow file, I have a negative effect. I don't ever have a positive effect. And then I disavowed more links September 5th, and there was no result at the time. It stayed on number 1 for a while. I indexed them September 18th, and again, it stayed here for a while. A good August 18th to October 6th. So what is that, 3 weeks? And then started shuffling. So again, JS links seem to give a boost. Anytime I disavow, I seem to start to make stuff shuffle in any of my testing environments. So this is not painting a good picture. It is painting a good picture for JS links, and it's not painting a good picture for the disavow. But like I said, it's nowhere near conclusive. Let me show you a surprising one.
I mean, I guess in this experiment particularly, you're disavowing a link that you believe has had a positive impact. So you would expect something bad to happen when you put the disavow in, wouldn't you? So I guess it behaves as you would expect.
I guess so. Yeah, you're right. In that case, that's what you would expect in that particular case. But it only went down for a week and then went back up.
Yeah, that you wouldn't expect.
So that's the behavior of the disavow file. It's like, for me, putting stuff in the disavow file is telling, even though Google said otherwise publicly, it's like telling Google, this is a spammy page. I want you to A/B test it with everything else.
Yeah, I mean, they never promised at any point that they would 100% do anything with the disavow file other than use it for whatever they felt like.
Of course, they're Google.
Yeah,
they will do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, so it's behaving as expected.
Yes, indeed.
Mysteriously and interesting.
Mysteriously, yeah. But it never drops it and then it's solid. It always seems to make it A/B test, disappear off the index entirely, or rank its spot or lower spot. And so it seems to put it kind of in an A/B test fluctuation, and then depending on what happens, it either puts it back or it doesn't. It always seems to put it back.
That's interesting.
Let me show you another test that I did here. Here's a nice one. Here, yeah, I'll do this one. So what is the new links? I'm pretty sure that I can fairly conclusively say the new links is traffic. Google is tracking traffic. I have all kinds of ways and that they can track traffic. I have all kind of Google leaks kind of indicating they track traffic. And now I have empirical tests showing that apparently they're tracking traffic. So let me show you what I did here. So I had this page, of course, one of my testing pages. It was fairly stable in a spot. And so I thought, you know what? With my good friend Holly, who is a super level black hat, who's on my show on a regular basis, I said, let's point 60. So I had this one that's ranking number 3 for the most part, most of the time. I said, let's point a bunch of traffic at it. So we did around July 6th here. And nothing happened. I pointed traffic at it, and for a whole month, nothing seemed to happen. In fact, it went down a bit. Then all of a sudden, after 5 weeks or so, boom, it was pegged at number 1. And it's ranked number 1, except for this little fluctuation period, which, by the way, you can check on Barry Schwartz's Roundtable blog. This was an industry-wide fluctuation, this little drop here. It is ranked number 1, bar a few little fluctuations, for months now, since August 3rd. And that was all from pointing 60 plus people. And I'll even tell you from where. 60 were them from micro workers. 10 or 20 were from my Twitter feed. Another 5 or 10 were from Skype, a Skype group. I said, hey guys, go here. But they did something very, very specific when they got there. So you can't just point any traffic to your page and expect it to rank better. They did something very specific when I got there, and that I'm going to have to keep under wraps a little bit. But it wouldn't be very hard for you to guess what they did, especially with the next test I'm going to show you as well.
Can I guess in advance and then see if I'm right?
Sure. I might wink at you, even though you can't see my face right now.
I think some kind of like full page scroll taking a certain amount of time, then click something else on the site. So some kind of nominal activity on the site like that. Here's me not answering. Not that I've ever done any tests around this.
Right. Not that I've ever tested this myself, he says. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, remember, this is a SERP. No one is ranking for 5BRNY 4RZYWUN, right? This is a SERP with zero traffic. So 60 people was a 700% increase in traffic, compared to all the other pages. If you're ranking in a SERP where you have already 10,000 uniques a month, I have no idea how many new uniques you'd have to start pointing at your page to get any kind of a difference there. And quite frankly, micro workers wouldn't be the best place to do them because it cost me 30 cents a click on micro workers. Quite frankly, I would just set up Facebook ads and get that Facebook ad click to down less than 30 cents a click. And by the way, I'll remind you, that's what Gary Ilyish told us to do a few years ago when ranking a page. He said, you make a new site and you send traffic to it, and Google will take care of the rest. He said, I'm paraphrasing, but that was a very close quote. And remember that if you're like, yeah, bullshit, Josh, this is traffic ranking a site, I'll remind you that John Mueller has been telling us for years now to watch, make sure people are happy with our site, and make sure it's the best experience possible. And I will remind you that Andrei Lopatsev, another Webmaster Trends analyst who's a Russian fellow working out of the Dublin office in Google, he did 2 Hangouts, and then he was not allowed to do any more Hangouts because he was giving away too much information. He said, and I quote, "We already know the desktop user story," end quote. We just have to, and then he went on to say, we just have to learn the mobile user story. That was a few years ago. Now they know the mobile user story just fine as well. And I will also remind you that the database that controls what page is a malware page and not is controlled by Google. And so every single page you go to, you are sending packets to Google to say, hey, I'm going to this URL. Should I go there? Is it a malware page? And it checks the database and says, nope, it's not malware. Go ahead. Or yes, it is malware. Here's the big red screen of malware death. Mm-hmm. Google controls that database, I will remind you. So we thought, okay, well, positive traffic, doing positive things on the page that make it look like they like the page, seems to rank. Nothing else is going on here. This is just one test. You have to repeat it, of course. Like, well, what about bounces? What would happen if we do some bounces? So let me see here. Where's the bounces test? I'll see if I can find it. I've got so many tests here. Here we go. So here's another complex test that I did. So I did a number of tests all with the same keyword. So the first test I did here was a text mention test. All I did was I went onto a website and I said, hey, if you want the best red apples, go to www. whatever.com, all in text, no linking, no link, no follow link, no do follow link, no anchor tag whatsoever, just all in text. And I wanted to see if that gave a boost. And I'll show you at the time. You see this page is not ranking number 1 anymore. What happened? At the time it did. So this was ranking number 2 for a while, and at the time when I did it, it did seem to give it a minor boost, very briefly. It's a very brief boost. Then all of a sudden it dropped, and you're wondering why that is? Well, because of the second part of the test I tried. Let me do a search here on the same screen. Tell me if it just switches over to Google here. Yes, it switched over to Google.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The second test we did, so here is that page that we were testing. The second test we did is the test that I mentioned earlier on the air, and it's at what ranks better, a page name or a EMD? As you can see, the EMD ranks much, much better. The EMD ranks better than the subdomain, but the subdomain, the blog is so important as far as Google's concerned. It decides to give two pages from the same site. It also gives me this subdomain from CuteStat, and CuteStat is just kind of like when you register on. Sometimes when you register on GoDaddy, it'll make like domain.com. Hey, this page was registered on September 9th. Like all those kinds of garbage pages. You've seen those before, like this kind of whois information. Mm-hmm. It auto-generated all these pages. My apprentice did this, and he didn't realize it was going to do that. Here's that text mention I talked about that we made. As you can see here, it's just a text mention. There's no linking text there. You can go click on that and check it out. But this is the test we did. So we also sent about 100 users. So let me just recap. One, we did text mention test, and it proved that it gave it a little bit of a boost, but I think it's just a quick little boost in terms of freshness. Query deserves freshness. The second test we did is, will a page name beat out an EMD? As you can see here, the EMD has, for months now, beat out the subdomain, and the subdomain has beat out the page name. So I can answer Rand Fishkin's and Danny Sullivan's debate right now. I've been running this test for months, and I have another one I can show as well. I've done 2. The third test we did, I was like, okay, well, now that I've got this EMD ranking here, let's see if bounces are bad. So we sent about 100 users to this site right here, and they went on the page, and I told them to pretend they don't like it, quote unquote, whatever that means, and told them to bounce under 30 seconds. They all did that. As you can see, it didn't derank this page. In fact, it doesn't have it anymore. But as I write here, as I did the test December 15th, by January 1st, this page had site links. It gave this site here site links that would show up underneath right here. So in no way did the negative traffic, the bounce traffic, hurt it. In fact, it just gave it site links on the SERP. So I can show that there, and that makes sense, right? Because if bounces actually hurt, it's positive traffic ranks, and the last one to get the positive traffic, I've run a separate test to show this. The last one that gets the positive traffic is the one that gets the boost, right? So if we had someone pogo sticking through all these pages, the last one to get the positive traffic is the one getting the bonus to their quality score. I did a separate test for that a couple of years ago now. And the bounces don't hurt. And that makes sense because it would be too easy to weaponize for negative SEO. All you have to do is just fire up micro workers and send 1,000 people to your competitor, on each page a month, and have them bounce under 30 seconds. And that would be hurtful. If you do that, if anything, you're going to be helping them. So they're going to be thanks for the free traffic from Google, they're going to say. So I found that test very interesting. And if you're like, well, Josh, I want to see another test about EMDs beating out pages. Okay. I ran a separate test to see if EMDs were better. And let me just show you here. that SERP, I'll show you. As you can see, oh, look at that. This is different. The cute stat is beating the EMD, but the EMD is still beating the page name. So that's very interesting indeed. And this is fascinating because cute stat, I mean, this is complete garbage. This is just a page saying, I mean, if I click it, I'm going to help it, but this is just a page saying, hey, someone registered this domain name. It is safe to browse. So okay, thank you very much. Google thinks that this page is more important than the site dedicated to the keyword, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But again, I've been showing these tests, and for all I know, this is the page that's been getting the clicks. In fact, I mentioned in a video, hey, look at this page. I can't, this cute stat, I was yammering on about it. I wouldn't be surprised if people wouldn't clicked on it.
Mm.
So there's some of my tests there. Does anybody have any questions about those?
I had noticed someone in the chat had made a point that, do you think, like, these search terms, would the test change at all if they were for something that was a keyword that people were actually searching for?
Possibly, but I can't see why. It's entirely possible that Google has written algorithms for specific niches, like payday loans, and whatever, herbal Viagra or whatever.
Yeah.
But keep in mind how many niches out there are. Google does not like taking a whack-a-mole approach. They like writing an algorithm that deals with the entire internet. So although I have no way of knowing for sure, my best guess to answer that would be no, my tests are going to hold true. And they have so far to all my live sites and all my client sites that I've been using this knowledge on. I have not seen any deviations from my test results.
Okay.
And I know, one of the tests has been corroborated by a few other people doing the same test live, like at conferences and things like that. Yep. Rand did it live at the conference. The traffic boost one has largely been corroborated a few times on live sites too. So all you can do, I guess, is compare it to the cases where it's the same, and if you're the same a lot, then you can deduce that some of your other tests, I guess, might also be the same if you could test them in real life. Indeed. So the last test I'm doing here, and this has just started, so you guys will have to tune into my show to find out what the results are going to be. I said, okay, well, I know direct traffic seems to be ranking pages. What about click-through rate? So I have a test here where both pages were ranking on page 5, spot number 5, and they still are. And a few weeks ago, I started pointing traffic goes directly to this page and does positive things, whatever that is. And these guys, they go to the Google SERP, they do a search for this keyword, they click this result, and then they do positive things. So I'm going to see how much they go up in a few weeks, if they go up in a few weeks, if this one goes up sooner, if this one goes down sooner. And I'm going to see if it's just just traffic that ranks, or if it's the click-through rate also seems to be, on the SERP, seems to be a factor as well. Does that make sense, my test methodology? Yeah, see the results.
Yeah, so it'd be very interesting what those results are. So far, I'll just show you what's been happening so far. The short word is nothing, but the long version is... we just started the test, and nothing happened. It's still ranking at spot number 5. It does blip in and out of the SERP every now and then. So I'm wondering if this will shore up, if it'll start staying on the SERP more often, or if it's going to disappear. So nothing's happened on that yet there. I've run a few more other tests, but they're not as interesting. Like, do Facebook shares help rank a site? I managed to de-index the page when I did that, so I'm not really sure what happened there. I don't go. We bought the Facebook likes from Fiverr, so don't go buying Facebook likes from Fiverr. That's all I can say about that. Yeah. And I did another test. I tested whether a do follow link helps boost the page, and it does. Hypothesis confirmed. You got to test important stuff and non-important stuff too sometimes. Any more questions about that?
Yeah, we got some questions from the crowd. Let me just get my video back. Am I back live?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So we've got Craig Road just asking, what are the 3 things you'd recommend people do to boost their rankings according to your tests so far? Like actionable stuff.
Okay, the 3 things according to my tests. That's a tough question to answer because I don't base all of my SEO theories off those tests alone, because obviously my knowledge will be incomplete. For those of you who never heard my rant, I have a rant about SEO evidence, and I could share the infographic if you want me to or not. But
yeah, share it in the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, let me just share it on the screen here really quick. Here's the other problem that I want to talk about on this, and this has been bugging me about the SEO industry for quite some time. That the SEO industry doesn't seem to want to go off of evidence. You guys see the graphic yet?
Yep.
I've got it. Yep.
So basically, as far as I can tell, there's 5 levels of SEO evidence, and most of the industry wants to go off the worst kind, which is just the opinions of people without any kind of vetting for the opinion, right? Like you watch I'm not going to name any names, but you go onto YouTube and you watch a video by, I don't know, Alex Becker, and he says that this ranks this or this ranks that, and he gives you no evidence whatsoever that this is the case, typically. He just says, I think it does. Or you go on to, I don't know, Backlinko, Stream, and he says, I read in a blog somewhere that this worked, so try it. That's not evidence, and that's not. I mean, sometimes that's the best evidence we have, and if that's all we have to go off of, fine. But I would really want to base it off of multiple levels. Like I've done a single variable experiment to try it out, and I have a niche specific correlation study, and I've observed it in the field, and it also corresponds with what John Mueller's been saying for years. I'd like to go off of all those levels of evidence. And so the answer to the question that was asked is what recommendations would I make based on my experiments? I would exceed my experiments a little bit, and I would say that you definitely want positive traffic. You want traffic to like your site. If they don't like your site, that's definitely going to be a problem. That's all the quality stuff that Google's been talking about, and that's all the things they've been yammering at us for years now to do, and that's how they're tracking it, is through traffic. And it makes perfect sense, because traffic at the end of the day is the only direct measure of whether or not someone likes the page or not, is what does the traffic do when it gets there. That, and the other thing is that the disavow file is a myth. I've tested this thing 8 ways from Sunday. Of course, I was the guy who started the disavow gate kerfuffle years ago when I did a Whiteboard Friday for Moz, and I said the disavow file doesn't work. People stop selling it. You're snake oil salesman. It does not do anything. It does not do anything positive. I don't know what your guys' opinion on it are. I don't want to start a fight, but in my opinion, all of my testing shows that it doesn't do anything positive. Right? Anytime I use it on a site, a test site, it does not help the site rank. All it does is put it into some A/B testing. So I mean, that's my opinion. You don't have to defend it. I mean, if you want to, go ahead. We can have a debate if you like. But
well, I mean, you'd already heard Garrett's opinion and my opinion that if you want to do something, you should take links down that you don't want instead of just disavowing. A couple of people in the chat are claiming the same result as our link removals from disavows, though. So kind of the opposite opinion in the chat from some people earlier. But
based on my testing, I wouldn't remove any links at all. We pointed the dirtiest, grossest links right from GSA at that target page. And you want to ask me what the anchor text ratio was? 100%. It was 100% the keyword anchor text.
I mean, the times we're talking about are when you've got a manual penalty and you're doing a link review. Like, you have to do something before you send back in your reconsideration request. Like, we wouldn't even, if you haven't got a penalty, we wouldn't be doing it. But if you've got a penalty,
right? Okay.
Then we do one of Garrett's link reviews and try and get out of the penalty.
Yes. Okay. I stepped too far. Yes, you're totally right. If there is a manual penalty, yes, you need to do something. Versus site, if the manual penalty versus site, you definitely need to do something.
Yeah.
And the disavow file is.
Chat's got an example of where they Google gave them a manual penalty and they sent in, why don't you go fuck yourself? And they came back with, you're out of penalty. I'll give an extra 100 to the charity.
Okay.
That doesn't work.
I did something similar actually. I had a large client.
Oh, I've just given away $100. Let's hear the story.
I did something similar. Well, you'll have to be the judge.
Okay.
I had a large client who had a huge affiliate network. I won't tell you who they were, but they have a huge affiliate network. Some people in here could very well be affiliates for that network. And I was doing SEO for them on contract. And their flagship, one of their flagship products had received a manual penalty versus links. And I took a look, and all these links coming in from affiliates. And I said, okay, well, I basically wrote in the reconsideration request. I said, these are all links from affiliates. We can't get them to take them down. They were made for the purpose of affiliates. Just ignore them. We're not trying to rank on this at all. Basically, being pretty flippant and telling, if you don't like that, too bad. There's nothing we could do about it. And they removed the penalty. So I wasn't as rude as to tell them to go fuck themselves.
I think in the spirit of our charity wager, that's a win. So I will now donate a further 100 to the cause.
You're a nice guy. You're a nice guy.
Speaking of donations, our buddy Tom Spiglari, he put in $500. Thank you very much, Tom. Thanks for stepping up.
Oh wow! Thank you very much, Tom. That's an amazing donation at this stage to keep us. Just as we're starting to flag, I'm about to put us to 4,000 with this 100. So,
wow.
Just as we were starting to get tired and think we've still got another 3 quarters to go. Yeah. Another 3 quarters. You guys can see I got broken and poured myself a Canadian club a little bit earlier than the 16-hour mark. So,
being the resident Canadian, I say très bien.
It's very nice. So
to answer the question the guy asked me, according to my tests, what I would say is don't use the disavow unless you have a manual penalty. Manual penalty is a different beast. Do not assume the disavow is going to help for anything algorithmic. I've never seen that in any of my testing or any of the testing that my sister group SIA does. Traffic definitely helps you, and on-page keywords are super, super important. Don't ignore the keyword. Ignore everything. Ignore what John Mueller says directly and kind of read between the lines. When John Mueller tells you to ignore keywords, don't ignore John Mueller. You definitely need the keywords on the page if you want it to rank.
That's our don't tweet this for the hour. If everyone could tweet out, ignore John Mueller, hashtag 24HSEO, link to the live stream. Come on, everyone.
There you go.
You're all in the chat. That's a good tweet for the hour.
When John Mueller says to ignore keywords, ignore John Mueller, and definitely keep the keywords on your page. And you definitely, I tweeted out the other day, according to my tests, I can live by this one piece of advice. The only ranking that works is brute force ranking. It's the ranking that you try and do with Planet. You do the keyword research. You plan on the keyword you want to attack, just like you're supposed to. You put the keyword in the title and in the page name and in the H1. And they like an H1 and an H2 and an H3 structure. That definitely shows boosts in our testing as well. So that I would recommend those kinds of things for my testing.
Cool.
Right, next question. So Jake's just concerned that there are other models of relevance, etc., that can be associated with a term. So for these irrelevant terms looked at in isolation, are you worried that skews the data a lot? And a related question, is your process to come up with the terms just to mash the keyboard?
Yes, that's one way of doing it. You just mash the keyboard. There's also plenty of programs out there will auto-generate text strings in garbage language like this. That's typically what my apprentices will use when they're setting up these servers. No, I mean, I don't. Yes, you can speculate as to. Basically, the question comes to this. Josh, how do you know your testing environment is representative of the wild environment? And my answer is the only way of knowing that is a little bit of common sense as to how Google works, which I was talking about earlier, and never seeing it vary from what I've tested in the wild environment. So as of yet, I've never seen a discrepancy between the two that I couldn't explain or that didn't make sense. Like, sure, you can send 100 visitors to this page, but the site has no traffic. The site has no links, and everyone else has a PA of 50. So no, traffic is not that big of a signal, but so yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible that there could be variations, there could be semantic variations, but I doubt it, because except for that one, I showed you the search results page where Google is starting to show images now for the HE1, whatever it was, for the exact match domain test, the first one I did. Every other search results page is very simple. If it's like, whatever, Red Apples 24897, it's only those 4 pages I made, and they never have floated any other pages in there saying, did you mean this? They've never floated any other pages in there saying, I think that's close to that, ever. So their semantic, Hummingbird isn't that good of a database in that that's why they made RankBrain, was to handle queries they'd never received before, and these are queries they've never received before. So no, I don't think that definitely doesn't invalidate the testing I'm doing, and I don't think it's probably going to affect the testing that I'm doing or SIA is doing.
Yeah, I mean, that seems logical to me. I mean, I think when some of the tests are being corroborated, and as you say, like, Google has to be able to handle things it hasn't seen before, it makes sense there's going to be some useful information to glean from them in conjunction with real life experience and testing as well.
Yeah, and now I'm going to be very real about these tests. When I presented that infographic before, everything from the opinions of SEOs at a conference, the opinions of Google, and in the field observations, there's where we generate more hypotheses, where we start generating, maybe this is a ranking factor. When we start generating knowledge is when we start doing massive correlation studies, like we check the top 10,000 pages in this niche, and we find that 90% of them have links. We can start to assume that links are a ranking factor from that correlation, right? Or 90% of them have the keyword in the title. We could start to presume that keyword in the title is a ranking factor. But again, that's you can still have cause correlation fallacy there, just because and so you can't assume that's a ranking factor. At the same time, however, in our industry, we too quickly say cause correlation and then just forget it, as if correlation didn't matter, right? Just because there's smoke doesn't mean there's fire, but there is some smoke, and there's something causing the smoke. So you might want to figure out what that is, right? So I like to say, in the Latins, it's post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore, because of this. Just because you have correlation doesn't mean there's something causal there, but it doesn't mean there's something not causal there too. And it pisses me off to no end when Rand Fishkin's like, yeah, that's just cause correlation. And I'm like, yeah, but there is correlation. There's a whole bunch of correlation here that you can't explain. So explain it, right? And just to dismiss it because it is only correlation is to throw away the baby with the bathwater, because correlation is a huge swath of evidence we can use to try and make educated guesses. And then the one on top of that solves all of it and that answers all the questions is the empirical testing like I'm doing. But to be real, which I wanted to do, it's only one step. And one test from me does not science make. You need 10 tests from me, and then Garrett, you need to replicate that test 10 times. And then SIA needs to replicate that test 10 times. And then finally, we're pretty sure that, X, Y, Z is a ranking factor because independent people have verified it. That's how science works, right? Mm-hmm. So my tests are exciting. My tests are interesting. And they start to shape my knowledge, and they start to shape our knowledge in the industry. But one test does not science make. And so I'm not saying that these are gospel things you need to follow now. Obviously, you need to do more testing. Everyone needs to start doing more testing, and I think we need to start behaving more like scientists in the industry, where we do this testing and we share it back and forth. Forget Google. Who cares what Google says? Let's not even include them, because I don't want them to start messing up our testing, right? So let's not even include Google. And instead of, going on to Barry's blog and start slinging mud at each other, maybe we should start sharing tests. Just saying, just putting it out there. I know how much we like slinging mud on Barry's blog, but that's been the bee in my bonnet for a little while now in the industry for a while.
Just a quick question from Nick Eubanks. He's just saying, going back to the first thing you were saying in this segment, he's just saying because 10,000 pages is a drop in the ocean when looking at correlation, or were you referring to the top 10,000 pages ranking for a specific term with that comment?
That's a great comment. That's a great question, Nick. So what I'm talking about is the piece of software called Cora that my friend Ted Kubitis wrote, and I helped him write it. What Quora does is, if you ever wondered for any search phrase, like let's say DUI attorney LA, Los Angeles, if you want to know what's correlating with ranking on page 1 and what's correlating with ranking all over 500 factors that are correlating with ranking on page 1 versus 500 factors that are correlating with rankings on page 20, that software will tell you. And it starts to paint a very interesting picture how these factors always come up correlating with rankings, and these factors never do. And you start to paint a picture from that. And the reason why you don't want, like, Search Metrics run by Markus Toba, that's a very nice guy over in Germany. I always say his name like that because I met the guy and he sounds just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I can never get it out of my head. But Marcus is a great guy, and he runs Search Metrics, and they do, I haven't seen one for a while now, but they used to do every year this massive correlation study. You guys know what I'm talking about, where they check like 1 million different search results and they tell you what's correlating across the board. The problem with those kinds of results are that it separates e-commerce pages, it mushes in e-commerce pages and info pages, it mushes in local pages and global pages, it mushes in political pages or pages with QDD, query deserved diversity, where Google's going to start filtering stuff in, images and videos and whatnot. And so it's not what's relevant to you and what you want to rank for in your niche. So Quora, not that this is an advertisement for Quora, but a better way to do it is to only look at what's ranking in your niche, because we can run up to the problem that somebody else mentioned there, that specific niches very well could have specific ranking algorithms, especially for types of queries. Like in the search funnel, the top of the query is no queries. What are red apples? The middle are no do queries. What are the best red apples, or best red apples, where they might want to know about it or they might want to buy it. And then the end of the sales funnel and the search funnel is buy red apples. I have my credit card in my hand. I want to go buy red apples right now. We've all heard of the search funnel before. The problem is, of course, that Google can have drastically different algorithms at each level of the search funnel, and a giant 10 million page correlation study is going to go across all those different areas of the search funnel, whereas I think you need to be a bit more laser specific into what part of the search funnel you're trying to rank for. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? Are you guys still awake?
Yeah.
Get more Canadian club in there.
All right.
Do I need to pour a drink too?
Nick says the algos differ at the keyword level. It's not so niche specific.
How do you know that?
You have to wait 10 seconds for his reply now because of the lag.
Yes. So,
all right. So Brandon Bayer wants the link to the infographic just while we're waiting for Nick. And someone else wanted you to plug your YouTube show again, please.
Sure. So it's at youtube.com/JBACHYNS. It's called the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO Show. You guys are welcome to come on at any time.
Cool.
Be fantastic.
I've had SEMrush on, Ahrefs on. I have all kind of people in the industry coming on, big black hats that never come out anywhere, and they always keep their face masked. And I also got guys who know about Facebook and how to hack Facebook traffic and whatnot coming on there. So it's fantastic stuff. Nick says he has access to literally hundreds of millions of visits per month. Great. How is that a scientific test? See, that's my point, is that
I want to have a debate segment now. I want to have like in one of these gaps later on. If Nick's awake super late at night and you're awake super late at night, one of the 1 hour gaps we've got really late on. If you guys want to have like an early morning, I guess, debate and rip for an hour, that would be super better.
With a costume? Did someone just Skype me wear a costume? No one wants to see me in a costume, that's for sure.
Just wear like a cowboy hat or something. Like you're not from Alberta, are you, or something?
Here we go. Here's the problem: is that our it doesn't. The data is not the problem. It's the way we are judging the data is the issue. Is there's something important about a single variable controlled environment test compared to in the field observations. In the field observations, I have 50 different factors that Google is doing that we don't even know about. We're apparently in 2 or 3 search tests from Google every day that we don't know about. So in the field observations are a kind of evidence, and a very important kind of evidence in our SEO industry, but it certainly isn't the most important kind. And I will challenge you. I will challenge your in the field observations against my single variable controlled environment tests to the degree that we can test whatever you're talking about any day of the week, because that's where we have a much more reasonable idea that the changes we make are actually providing knowledge and not just wildly guessing at the 50 things that we don't know that's happening behind the scenes that Google is doing. I mean, this happens in the disavow debate all the time. People will do the disavow file, the disavow 5 links, then 5 weeks later their rankings will shoot up, and they'll say, "Oh, it was the disavow file that did it." You don't know that. You have no idea that's what happened. That was the case. Any other possible thing could have possibly happened. So that's what's really kind of annoying me. And so if Nick wants to start having a conversation about scientific methodology or the philosophy of knowledge, the philosophy of science, that's the debate we actually need to have, is to figure out how to get better knowledge and stop wildly guessing at things that we can't see. Jared asks, do I have any tips for getting new YouTube viewers?
Yeah, we could do with that as well. We need about another 100 right now. If you can, we can get another 100 on here, that'd be brilliant.
Sure. Well, we should post it to all the groups we belong to.
Oh yeah, I've been hitting up like Reddit, Big SEO, and Online Geniuses, and Builder Society.
Let me see if I can share this to Chase Reiner has a White Hat SEO group. See if I can share it, or if he's blocked me.
That's where I found you, wasn't it? Debating or trying to debate that guy in his group.
Yeah, yeah. Who, me? In an argument?
No. Are you both banned?
No, I'm still in Chase's group.
Okay.
No, I'm not banned.
Yeah, and same for everyone who's watching. You know, any shares, tweets, much appreciated. Be great to get us back over 100, especially as we're about to have the legendary, infamous Cygnus SEO presenting, and he's promised some black hat tips. So let everyone know he's about to be on. And obviously, if you're too lazy to do hundreds of tests yourself, and you would like to reward the charity for helping us convince Josh to come on and share a full hour of every test they've been doing, please do jump on and just give a little bit to the charity, and it'll help us keep getting great speakers next year if we have a really good result this year.
Yep, almost a third of the way there.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. I wish we were a third of the way there on the hours as well, but we're a little bit short still.
Just to answer Jared's question there, so it's tough getting YouTube viewers. As you've noticed, I've been doing videos on YouTube for probably about 7 years now. It's getting really saturated now with Tom, Dick, and Harry and their dog and everybody else on here and promoting their videos with mostly SEO crap. And there's a lot of noise, and it's hard to differentiate yourself. And so, quite frankly, YouTube might not be the best place for you to try to go. To be perfectly blunt, there was a news technology that had come out that I was hoping was going to get big, but it never did. So, let me see here. Nick retorts, I'm over here wildly guessing while ranking for the most competitive keywords that exist. Okay, yes, you are. You're still guessing. You know what a guess is? It's when you don't have facts. You might be making good guesses. Evidently, if you're ranking for the most competitive keywords that exist, then you're making very good guesses. And so, huzzah, good for you. But we're having a philosophy of knowledge debate right now that you don't understand. Not who's the biggest SEO. That's not the debate we're having right now. I've ranked for some pretty competitive keywords too, just by making wild guesses as well. But at least I have the honesty to admit that they were guesses.
Well, I think the other thing as well, if we're honest about the SEO landscape, is the idea that you would need complete knowledge or perfect knowledge anyways is in my opinion a fallacy, because some of it is known. And if you do enough of the known stuff really well, and you do it at enough of a scale with enough of a budget and enough skill to execute, you're going to win versus someone who has perfect knowledge and doesn't have the budget, doesn't have the scale, or just doesn't put enough time into it. So,
Yep.
I think knowledge is good. Work is also very good.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that's knowledge is part one of the game, and then the epitome of knowledge.
Knowledge.
Knowledge
I mean,
spelled N-O-L-I-G-D-E.
Here in my garage with my books.
Yeah.
I've got my knowledge.
I got my knowledge. I just read some Nietzsche. Yeah, no, you're completely right. Yeah, I mean, work and money is matters as well. And I like the knowledge aspect of it because I come from an academic background, and I like to not spend so much and spend less if possible. But you're absolutely right. If you've got 10K a month to throw at a keyword, you should be able to make a dent. I mean, you should be able to start ranking some stuff.
Anyway, I think we may have time to bring you back on later if you want, because we've got a couple of gaps. But it's now time for the legendary Cygnus SEO.
All right. Well, it's been my pleasure, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
That's been
any
super
questions for me? Email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. And I don't have that infographic published anywhere, so just email me. I'll send you the GIF, and you can publish it all over the place if you want. So joshbachynski@gmail.com. Kudos to you guys for doing this, and if I'm awake later on, I'll definitely sign back on.
Well,
sounds good, man.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, guys.
Later.